Hey folks, this is Jeff Phipps from Steve Weiss Music, bringing you another in our series of interviews that we've been trying to do to keep everybody company and keep your passion for percussion rolling while you're, in most cases, stuck at home. We've got a great guest coming up for you in a minute. I did want to let you know, be sure to keep an eye out on our Facebook page here, Steve Weiss Music, for more of these interviews. We're going to continue to do this regardless of pandemic or whatever we're all kind of stuck into. And I also want to encourage you to check out a relatively new Facebook page that we have called The Back of the Band Room. Back of the Band Room is intended to help teachers who may not be percussionists or not be terribly comfortable with percussion to be better at teaching percussion. It's for those of you that are band directors and your main instrument isn't percussion. And of course, we also want specialists to be on there as well, because we created the page for there to be a give and take between those of you who are really into this and know what you're doing and those who need a little bit of extra help. We're trying to put a lot of content up there for you so that we kind of remind you of some things that you may have forgotten from college methods class, or also just some helpful hints that other folks who are really excelling at the percussion education thing to help you be more comfortable with it. So please check out Back of the Band Room on Facebook, and of course, Steve Weiss Music on Facebook. And we are still processing orders as we have been through this whole unfortunate pandemic situation at steveweissmusic.com. So check it out if you would. Some of the things we sell happen to have this guy's name on it. I'm sure he doesn't need much of an introduction here to most of you. And there's too many Drum Corps and WGI and DCI Hall of Fame things to talk about, but he's a member of all of them. So I want to welcome Scott Johnson. Thanks so much for coming, Scott.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure. Good to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Scott, as many of you know, works with the Blue Devils and has been for, dare I say, 40 years. Is that right, Scott?
That's pretty close. This would have been my 41st year on tour with the Blue Devils this summer. Yeah, that means I'm old. That's just, the OG. That's what it is.
Yeah, but it's tremendous, though, in this day and age of people switching around and how, endorsements change and drive some of that and all that. You've been with kind of the same drum corps family for the whole time. So that's super cool.
Yeah, we've been real fortunate with that. With the the nucleus of the staff is we've been together for a long time. We don't even have meetings anymore. We don't need meetings. We just we know what's going to happen. Although this year has changed things a little bit.
Yeah,
we've had more meetings than we've ever had. I got to tell you.
Yeah, how's that been going? I guess from a Blue Devil perspective, but as well as just your everyday life and other things that you do outside the organization, like just. How's COVID affected all of that in your neck of the woods?
Well, me personally, it sucks. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been real hard. I mean, literally, I've been touring during the summer with Drum Corps at some stage for over 50 years. This is the first summer that I haven't done that.
Wow.
And, I've been doing a lot of these Zoom sessions. I've been doing a lot of teaching on Zoom, a lot of clinics, Zoom clinics. And I got to tell you, man, I've been working harder now than I ever have. I look forward to getting off a bus and walking in the middle of a football field somewhere and just go on autopilot like we always do. So this has been a whole new experience for me as well as the rest of the staff. But, we're getting through it. We got some, events. We're trying to keep the Blue Devil guys and girls involved as well. We have this thing called Hack Fest that we've been doing, which is just basically the drum line getting together and just playing. The whole idea was stay connected, stay in communication, keep drumming, whatever that means, So we put a little contest together between the snares and tenors and bass drums and front ensemble. And they've been having fun with that, just to keep them involved. This isn't the season anybody planned for it to be, obviously. And the scary part is we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Right now, 2021 is looking about the same as 2020, to be honest, with WGI, with DCI, with Bands of America, with, everything that we do in the pageantry world, until we could put people in the stands to appreciate what we do and to play for, I don't know what we're going to do. So it's pretty crazy right now. We're all going to try to figure this out together.
I know it's always a tough question, and it's something that I did want to get to, just, where you think Blue Devils DCI is going as a whole. And I know it's tough for a guy like you to answer that, because I'm sure you have your own feelings that, you talk about at home with your friends, but, you're representing a drum corps that affects a lot of people and is at the top of the game and has been for a long time. So you're sort of kind of a spokesperson for them. So it's kind of hairy, but what do you think? Do you think that's really what it's going to amount to, that as soon as the audience is allowed to come, that it'll turn around? Because I know that while that's obviously a concern, a lot of folks are also looking at schools just shutting down the ability for drum corps to stay overnight there, and some of the travel stuff and the the actual tour part of it. So how do you think all that's going to play out?
Great question.
A tough one. I know. No one knows, right?
We've talked about options. As a Blue Devil staff, that's all we have control over. Our admin team, our CEOs, they are working really close with DCI to try to make sure that we all do the right thing and do it together. So they're trying to stay real close with that and be very involved and, kind of trying to lead that forefront just because who we are, what we do, and we just want the activity to survive, obviously. The one thing we talked about just from the Blue Devil standpoint is we will be performing in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's on a football field, with people in the stands, whether it's on a stage, whether it's small ensembles, whether it's all virtual. I mean, we are going to keep going. The Blue Devil organization is going to keep going. We still want to give that opportunity for kids to perform, period. So no matter what happens with the DCI world, the Bands of America world, all the WGI stuff, I mean, the pageantry, we're going to keep doing something, whatever that means. The best quote I've heard from Dr. Tim was, the only thing we know is that we don't know.
For sure.
I love that quote because it's so accurate, As far as the DCI, yeah, I mean, you said it. I don't know what school's going to, allow a traveling circus to sleep in their gymnasium overnight and use their facilities for showers and restrooms and football fields. It's been talked about the possibility of doing a shorter tour for DCI if we can get people in the stands, to shorten it down to maybe, because we're on the road, 2.5 months usually, basically with Blue Devils from the West Coast and all the West Coast corps for that matter. But maybe make it a 4-week tour, a 5-week tour at the most. Maybe we stay in hotels, can't stay in schools. But of course, when you think about that, you think about staying in a hotel, which sounds great until you realize there's no football field at a hotel. There's no rehearsal facilities at hotels. Can you even travel to a school to rehearse? Are they going to let you in their property? It very well could be a theater type of thing that we do, where we just have to make sure the show's done, complete, polished before we get on tour, just like a traveling, theater would do, a Broadway show or something. So we don't know. The best scenario would be we get a vaccine, everybody's healthy, this thing disappears, it's gone, and boom, we can go back to what we did, in 2019. But until that happens, we're all kind of just trying to figure it out ourselves on what the heck's happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see what top level groups like yours and others will do with not only indoor, but since the outdoor marching band and thing is kind of right upon us too, because so many people are taking this as an opportunity to do things differently, which I think is great. I mean, not only because we have to, but I know that with a local high school program that I was involved with here in Pennsylvania, got to the point where the competitive thing was just getting rough for the community, to be honest, and rehearsal sites were difficult for us to get, cooperation of parents and administration, things like that. And so we ended up doing more of a kind of an old school production where we stood still for a tune and we kind of moved in between. We stood still for a tune and moved in between. We did more stuff with props, a little bit more entertainment value and not as much demand in the program. And I kind of feel like people are going to be relegated to that because of the space that they have to rehearse in. But it could kind of maybe usher in a different, a genre almost. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the mini chorus sort of thing or the sound sport kind of thing, but, maybe something new will come of it.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, the one thing that we've realized is not just in our world, but in the world in general, a lot of people can now work from home. Which bummer for, corporate real estate. 'Cause I think a lot of companies are going to say, we don't need to pay that much money for this building. You guys stay home and work. We're doing the same thing we did then. And I don't know if it could be the same thing with what we do just because of the performance aspect, but there has been a lot of performances that are being done on online right now. So you never know what's possible. I mean, anything's possible. I love the fact that you guys kind of like trying to take the competition thing out of it. I mean, I've said for decades that, the best thing about drum corps is it's competitive. And the worst thing about drum corps, it's competitive. I wish we would have a summer. I wish we could just have a summer where there were no judges, just go out there and perform and have a good time and entertain the crowd and see what happens. But everybody wants that sports aspect, they want that placement, so they can have something to argue about and talk about. And I get it, but it's what we do. But I'd love to have a season without competition. That would be so much fun. Or let us judge. I would love to go judge, the cadets.
Yeah, right.
Myself and Tom Monks and a lot of the caption heads, we've talked about it for years ago. Man, I want you to judge us, and I want to judge you guys, and let's just do that. Forget about these judges. Let's do it ourselves, and for entertainment. I think it'd be a blast.
I know that locally, and for those of you that don't know, Scott has been, he judges all over the country, whether it's local circuits like the one I happen to be a part of for the last 20 years or so. And so he's been out to our championships a couple times. We loved having him. And of course, the performers love seeing Scott and everything because of his position and the activity. But that competition thing, is always kind of a big deal. And they're worried about, who's going to say what. And in talking to Caleb Rothy from out at SCPA in California, the indoor circuit out there, he came out to help us have kind of we called it a summit, like a meeting to make the East Coast scene a little bit better in terms of the local circuits working together. And that was the one thing that he said they started to do was the staffs from some of those great Southern California groups, whether it be high school or independent groups, were coming together, coming to the gym and just being no holds barred. Here's what I think your program could use. And they weren't holding back because they were worried about getting beat next week or whatever. And I think that camaraderie thing, could be good in some way.
That's one of the best things I love about SCPA, which is the Southern California Percussion Association. And I've been involved with them as long as I've been involved with, WGI. I've been judging down there for many years. And a lot of the, former students from Blue Devils and, guys that I teach with now run groups down there. And how close they are cracks me up almost to the point where you guys know you're competing, right? But it's like, they'll literally grab somebody who they just beat by 2 points, said, God, you could have had us if you only did this tonight. If you guys just changed that once, and they help each other.
Yeah.
And people think that, oh my God, you're helping your competition. But you look at the level of what Southern California is doing in indoor percussion, for example, it's off the charts.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think, was it a couple years ago in WGI? I think they won gold, silver, bronze medal for almost every class, like independent and scholastic. It's like, what is happening in Southern California? And literally everybody's helping each other. I mean, even to the point where this was years ago, and I was there with, I won't mention names, but somebody from the East Coast was there, with a company, and they were doing their thing. And he grabbed me aside and he's going, what is happening here? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, that group just helped that group get their floor off in time so they didn't get penalized. He goes, where I come from, we'd stand there with our foot on the floor so they would get penalized so they couldn't tear it. And I go, welcome to Southern California. I mean, everybody's helping each other to the point where, and the levels just keep getting better and better and better. And it's, I call it extremely healthy. I love it. It's all my people. I love them all.
Yeah.
It's very, very healthy.
Agreed. When we had this meeting, the quote that I came away with from Caleb was that a rising tide raises all boats. And so that's something that I think on the East Coast, we've got some work to do on that too. But it's super stuff going on up there. So for those that are stuck at home, I got you kind of trapped here. So I'm going to ask you, can you show us something that you think they should be working on at home? Maybe it's relative to something that you see younger players or people that are auditioning that they struggle with, something like that. Now, I understand that your doctor may have something to do with, as we see your hand there, with you playing, but maybe you could just give us a little bit of input on what somebody could be working on at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about it first. For Blue Devil auditions especially, and I'm sure it's the same with most drum corps, is the people that come to audition for us, they live on YouTube. They know our exercise program. They know our music. They got a kind of a grasp on the technique even, just by YouTube, by watching us in the lot at shows, warming up. And, it still amazes me. It's been like this for the last, 5-10 years, where you walk into the audition room and there's all these new faces playing last year's opener with the vets from the previous year. I'm going, who are these people? How do they know that? And they literally, they show up, to use the word prepared, that might be an understatement. They got their act together. It's like they were in the line the year before, so they're already considering themselves a vet when they show up for auditions. And that's what a lot of people are doing. The greatest example has been, little Brandon Olander, who was with us for 5 years, who started when he was 12 and blew up all over YouTube and everything else. And when I first met him, he was literally after talking with his father, going, what is happening with this little protege? What is this? What is your son doing? And he said, he lives on YouTube. He watches you guys constantly. He knows your exercises. He knows your music. He transcribes them. He makes sure he has the right stick height. I mean, I'm just going, oh my God, this is like a whole nother level of what we do, of, you know, just to be prepared for an audition. And that's kind of the norm now. You know, people that show up to our auditions, they were in the line last year pretty much in their own mind. They were playing right along with us in the lot, every warm up, every exercise, all the music. It's pretty crazy. So that's my first suggestion for auditions. You know, show up prepared and just, I mean, blow the staff away by, oh yeah, I know that. You guys played that last year. And 3 years ago, you played this lick, which was really cool. You know, I mean, that's what is happening nowadays because of the internet, obviously, because of media and what we could do. To me, one of the best things for any student to start doing is, we call it the grid. You know, there's a million different versions of a grid. The grid that I love the most is just triplet grid, which deals with accents, and then you can put flams and diddles and all that stuff. And I'm going to readjust you here a little bit, so maybe you could see my pad. Try to play without my hand killing me too much. Yeah, I had operation on this in 2013 where they literally had to cut my hand open to take some junk out of there. And this was the same thing last Friday, so it's been 5 days. But technology is a great thing. They didn't have to do this. They didn't have to slice my hand open. They just literally cut a little hole and did the same thing. So it's not half as bad as that was. So I might be okay. So for example, if you're doing a triplet pattern, and what I'm going to do, think about triplets. There's 3 notes. First partial, second partial, third partial of a triplet. We're going to keep that accent on the first partial, then the second partial, then just put it on the third partial, 4 counts. 4 counts each. So if we have this, 1, 2. So as you can see, I stayed on that downbeat for those first 4 accents, then the accent switched to that second partial, then the accent switched to that third partial. Now, what I love about the grid format is you add a grace note. So let's add a grace note to the downbeat and keep that flam on count 1, even though we're changing the accents. So now we'll have this, 1, 2. So we're always playing flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flam accent. We just keep doing that, but we're changing the heights, you know? And if you know the grid format, it's a 4-2-1 format, which means you play 4 counts 1 time, you play 2 counts 2 times, and you play 1 count 4 times. And I know I'm going pretty fast on this, but maybe you guys can rewind this and check it out when you're working on it at home. But the accent pattern without the flams or diddles or anything, just the accent triplet grid. I'm going to play the whole thing for you. 1, 2, here we go. Two counters. Repeat the 2s. Go to the 1 counters. Now I'm doing that same format. I'm just moving that accent from the first partial to the second partial to the third partial. 4 counts, then 2 counts, and then 1 counts. And by doing that, you cover a lot of different vocabulary. I mean, that you're going to be approaching when you get music, when you get everything else. So now when we want to go a little bit crazy, we keep that flam on that downbeat. 1, 2, here we go. I think I missed a grace note. But you get the idea as far as keeping that flam on that first partial no matter what, but the accents are moving around. And then when this is basically the format of the flam drag grid. So we had that diddle with this whole thing. Obviously that diddle is going to be low at times, it's going to be high at times, same as that flam. So we'll have this, 1, 2. So just by working that particular grid, the triplet grid, and again, there's so many versions of grids out there. They're all great. Use them all. I love the triplets grids the best because you're always dealing with the right hand and then also left hand on the downbeats, which we need to get more comfortable with nowadays. You know, I have I do a lot of clinics, and one of the questions I ask everybody out there is, back when I marched in the 70s in drum corps and marching band, all of our exercises were 16th note based. Everything was everything was 16th note based pretty much. Nowadays, most exercises are triplet based. And my question is, why is that? And every now and then somebody gets the right answer, and the answer is tempos are faster. Now, when I marched 124, we were jamming 124 beats a minute, man. We were on fire. Right about here. We didn't move forward, or we didn't go sideways. We just stood still most of the time. Nowadays, 170, 180, that's an average tempo. And when you think about 16th note patterns for rudimental drumming, sure, you could play them, but when you get into triplet patterns at that tempo, you could do a lot more stuff. So now triplets are a much more of our normal vocabulary than 16th notes are, which is very different from, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So the exercises should be more triplet based to enhance the music when you get that music that's going to be more triplet based too. So yeah, triplets are our friends. So let's be nice to them.
For sure. And for the younger players, just getting down that accent to grace note differentiation and the height without going too crazy with anything else, that works for your high school. That's not something that Scott's saying, go out and learn this and get ready for the Blue Devils. If you get that basic pattern down, that basic control down, then you start layering on the icing, if you will, as you move along in your career. But start with those basics is great. And I noticed, Scott, of course, you're playing with your ProMark sticks. Scott, you're an endorser of ProMark, and DC-17s, of course, are super popular along with all the stuff that has your name on it. But I think you're also working with Zildjian and Evans, of course, Conn-Selmer, playing on the off-world pad, and just some of the best relationships in the business. Talk about that just a little bit, your relationship with ProMark. We'll start there.
Yeah, I've been with ProMark now, that's a good question, 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you get older and you're around a long time, the longevity of things, the years kind of melt together. But no, they've been great. They've been great. I have, I think, four pairs of sticks with ProMark, the DC-17s, the lights, the scooters. I have the practice sticks, the ScoJos with the rubber tips. And yeah, it's been a great relationship, and ProMark is also part of a branch of Dario. It's a big umbrella. And also underneath that umbrella is Evans drum heads that we've developed some system blue heads with them as well for snares and for tenors. And we're still developing some more. So it's always exciting just to keep, pumping out new products that, I think we have the best, one of the best testing grounds that you can have, when you're in a drum corps or in a high caliber drum corps, you're touring all summer long in a normal year where, literally you're playing on them 24/7. You're tuning them 24/7. You're beating the heck out of them 24/7. So, it's not a better testing ground in the world. And especially with the, the volume that we play and the aggression that drum corps has, so, companies love us. We love the companies because we can give them more input to try to make the products better and stronger for everybody. And that's always been, one of our goals is to help keep the kids healthy. With that, a better stick that's going to feel better on the head, a better head that's going to feel better, a drum that's going to be lighter weight on your body. All of the above, we're trying to, make it healthier for everybody out there so they can keep doing this as long as they want. Because I know I had some problems carrying my big old 15-inch snare drum back in the day with a strap. I had a hole in my chest for my strap. I'm still getting over a little bit. But, it's just part of the process of, the relationships that we have with the companies at the drum corps level. It's a great testing ground. So it's a good relationship. Absolutely.
Well, and I know that, this is something that I'm sure a lot of other people have asked you about, a lot of people want to know about, but recently the Blue Devils made a pretty big change with the relationship that they have with your drum manufacturer and your front ensemble gear. So you guys are now part of Conn-Selmer and working with them to develop a continuing relationship with the System Blue idea as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. COVID wasn't our friend. I don't know whose friend it really is. And, System Blue is a company that we started through the Blue Devil organization, but it's a separate company because it's for profit. And obviously it was a brand new company, 3 years old pretty much. And then when COVID hit, of course, no high schools are buying stuff there. It's been pretty rough for everybody, including music stores, obviously. And Con Selmer came, I don't want to say they came to the rescue, but they said, hey, we can help. You know, we'd like to help you take over the brand and work with you on the brand. And because of lawyer things, we can't call them System Blue drums anymore. We have to call them a different name. So we came up with the Performance Series, you know, so it's the Performance Series. So Ludwig still has their line of marching percussion, which we are going to try to help improve as well, you know, with the testing grounds that we have, as well as they're going to help us improve what were the System Blue drums that are now the Performance Series drums, you know, so we're still going to probably be playing on those. That's my plan, at least as of today. Who knows what's going to happen in 2021 or 2022 or whenever we're able to do this again. But that's my plan. And I'm just really looking forward to the Con Selmer people, because now we have some pretty intelligent engineers that can help us, you know, with the design of what we did. Because to be honest, before what we were doing is pretty much trial and error. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, this is better. We're getting the right, you know, we're going the right direction. Last year, I was really happy with the sound of the drums, and I'm really happy with the weight of the drums. We're still trying to get the tenors a little bit lighter. That's still a big, you know, there's still 6 drums on there, so we're trying to figure out a better way to make that happen. But overall, yeah, I'm more excited about the relationship with Con Selmer. They're also taking over our brass instruments, the System Blue brass instruments that we had. And they've been selling Con Selmer brass instruments, obviously, for many, many years. So it's just another line in their products, which, again, with their engineers, hopefully everything's just going to keep getting better and better. Not only the performance line, but also the Ludwig line, as well as the Con Selmer line, too. So it's a good relationship. They're ecstatic to have the Blue Devils on their side. We're ecstatic to have them on our side. You know, we did have a relationship with them years ago with just the brass instruments, and so it's not like it's a new thing. The funny thing is, you know, I got photos around here somewhere, but I don't want to dig. But there's a picture of the 1976 Blue Devil snare line with me in the middle of the snare line, playing on Ludwig snare drums. We played on Ludwig back in the 70s. You know, so when I started with the Blue Devils, which 76 was my first year as a marching member, we were playing Ludwig. So it's, you know, it's full circle when you think about it. At least my career with the Blue Devils and my experience with Ludwig, you know, that company, it's like, okay, now we're back. And, you know, I've been a big believer in this activity stuff comes around. And I guess that's just longevity. You know, I mean, I've been involved obviously for, you know, 50 something years in the activity of marching arts. And I've seen everything from drumsticks to drum heads to drums to you name it, you know, come back around as far as we're with this company, with this company. I mean, with the Blue Devil organization, from when I marched, we went through Ludwig drums, Slingerland drums, Yamaha, Pearl, Dynasty, Pearl, and System Blue, and who knows what's going to happen after this at the Premier line, right? The Performance Series from Ludwig. So it's pretty amazing that, you know, we keep changing out these companies to make better products for everybody. That's kind of the plan. Everybody thinks it's a monetary thing. Not so much for us, but just trying to literally just make things healthier for everybody. That's always been at least my take on it.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see where it goes. I know that, you know, for the longest time, Ludwig, and they freely admit, was kind of slipping and fading away from the marching activity, especially the DCI level. Yeah. And they really made a big jump back with their drums that they brought out, and then the mallet instruments. And of course, you know, with development of anything, there's a little problem here, a little problem there. Sure. But in general, they made a pretty good splash. And then unfortunately, you know, some personnel changed, and, you know, and it kind of just, it was one of those things where they didn't have enough people to jump in and pump it up. And yet the products are really good stuff, and they are willing to take input and listen and to make it right. So the fact that they're going to have the input from your expertise in your group, to me, it's a match made in heaven. Like, you guys should be able to really, you know, strengthen their brand, and they're going to strengthen your sound. Are you planning to use front ensemble with their carts and everything, as well as the battery?
We're still talking about that. We were real happy with the System Blue carts that we developed last year. And we, you know, after one season with them, which was last year, which was really bizarre. I mean, last year, the Blue Devils, 2019, the Blue Devils won the DCI championship. The only thing that wasn't a System Blue product was the synthesizers and the Zildjian cymbals. Everything else, from the keyboards to the brass instruments to all the battery equipment, I mean, everything was you know, what we developed, which still just kind of blows my mind a little bit. But we really like the carts from the keyboards. We were having some issues with some of the keys, you know, as far as staying in tune and this and that, and just trying to get the Rosewood the way we want to get them. So right now the plan is, you know, Musser's a great company. Obviously, they've got great sounding boards. You know, the vibraphones are off the charts. Same with the marimbas and bells. And right now we're looking at probably somehow putting those on our carts, or a version of the carts that we helped design last year. And with their engineers, again, you know, we're making some steps and trying to change some things for us, you know, as far as let's figure out how to mic these things the same way every time, you know, to make sure that's part of the cart. And I've got some ideas on remote control carts, so you don't have to push them all the time. They can actually go on their own. And, you know, I'm trying to get them to buy this idea, even though it's way outside the box, but that's what I do. And you never know. So, yeah, we're looking at a bunch of stuff and a lot of, you know, try to combine both of our thought processes from the last few years and see what we can come up with. So the plan is to use the Musser boards with some form of our new carts, yes.
That's cool. Well, so far, I think your out of the boxness has been working pretty well. So I wouldn't shy away from it if I were you. I did want to ask you, I understand that you're working on a new book as well.
I am. It's a love-hate relationship. Yeah, I did a book a few years ago called Rhythms of Music. And I literally, for my own incentive, I put volume 1 on the book. And it's 30 concert snare drum etudes, you know, that I put together that, you know, I get my concert chops going. And there's a lot of rudimental, obviously, influence in there. And I just wanted to do something different as opposed to, you know, your basic rudimental book. Like I've done a couple that you guys have, the chops book and progression that I've done with you guys, well, with Roll Off that you guys are selling. And the Rhythms of Music book is concert based mainly, but it could be anything. It could be a rudimental guy. I mean, you still got to work on your chops to be able to play this stuff. And by putting volume 1, that forced me to do, okay, now I got to do at least volume 2. I might be able to stop after that, but you know, depends on if I keep going. But I'm about halfway done with it. I got to get the text all finished up, just little blurbs for each little individual piece, but I finished the music part of it. And yeah, I'm real happy with it. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely a challenge for, you know, us fighter pilot snare drummers, whether you're on a concert snare or rudimental snare or playing on a pad, you know, it's all, to me, it's a lot of it's the same approach as far as just getting those hands in shape. So yeah, looking forward to that. That, like I said, I got to get off my butt and finish up the book, but that's what I've been working on in this. Took the time where, okay, I'm home all summer. What the heck am I going to do? Oh, maybe I could finally finish that book that I told myself years ago I would do. So I've been working on that.
Good. I'm sure we'll have it at Steve Weiss once it comes out. Your products obviously do really, really well with us. So one other thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, do you have advice for folks that are, I know right now this COVID thing's got everybody kind of messed up, but hopefully things will get back to some sort of normal. Any advice for folks that might be just young to teaching the marching arts, just coming out of high school and, you know, they start instructing maybe with their local band as an assistant, and they start to grow into being, you know, the percussion instructor or the drum person for another band? What's something that you think that everybody could do a better job with, and maybe you see, you know, coming through the ranks up to somewhere like the Blue Devils?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could just go off my own experience. I literally started teaching drummers in a drumline situation when I was 14 years old. You know, and it was a small drum and bell corps group that I used to be in that I kind of moved up the ranks a little bit. So then I just got to go down and help out the little guys. And I've never stopped teaching. I mean, I've been teaching ever since. You know, every year I've been working with some form of paradiddles around the world. And, you know, I hate to say you got to put in your dues, but I mean, because I get emails and I get, you know, people ask me, they go, hey man, how do I get your job? You know, and I say, well, I don't plan on leaving, first of all, for a while until they kick me out of here. That's one thing about this whole COVID thing that I totally realized is being home all summer. I never want to retire. I don't like this at all. I miss, you know, as much as I complain and bitch about traveling and going from airport to airport and getting on the bus and doing the whole thing, I really miss it. I really do. Yeah. It's really bad to the point I'm going, God, I can't wait to go get on an airplane and fly and see some kids performing paradiddles. You know, I can't wait for that. It's driving me crazy. So because of that, I've been like TV hound on American Idols, on any competition TV show there is, I'm watching it and I'm judging, and I just miss that whole performance aspect of just people performing. So yeah, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, that's just driving me crazy. But when I first started teaching, I was a tech. I was mainly the snare tech for Blue Devils back in the day. I was actually hired while I was still marching in Blue Devils. People don't really know that, but I marched snare drum 4 years, 76, 77, 78, 79 in the Blue Devils snare line. And my last 2 years, I was paid a monthly salary to be in the snare line and also teach, because our snare tech decided to quit right before tour. And, I like to say our director panicked and hired me at said, well, here, I'm going to pay you to do what you're doing inside the line anyways. Like, okay, cool. So I was just, kind of the section leader and just kind of ran the rehearsals like I always did anyways, but now I was getting paid. So it was rent back then. It was awesome. But I had to pay my dues. I was the tech for many, many years, under, caption heads like Tom Float, like Rick Odello, like Ralph Hardiman. And I don't want to say I waited my turn, but I was in the right place at the right time. With Santa Clara Vanguard, I was there through from 1990 as a consultant, and then I became caption head in 91, 92, 93. And that was my first responsibility of, you're in charge. You're in charge of the music, the equipment, the membership, the staff. Here it is. And that was where I really got my teaching chops, just my, if you want to call it caption head chops, because as a caption head, and I'm sure if I had some of my other colleagues on here, they would tell you the same thing. The best thing about being a caption head is when you're able to teach, when you're able to stand in front of the line and teach and not have to deal with all this other stuff, whether it's meetings with the drum corps, talking about the show, fixing this, changing this, taking care of this, calling this company, all of the above. It's like, God, just to be able to stand in front of the line and teach was just like a joy. And it still is. One story that I will tell first-time arrangers, because I did this, and I still can't believe I did it, but it's a good story. My first year arranging in charge of the music, 1991 Santa Clara Vanguard. We did Miss Saigon. That was our show for 1991, which was epic for percussion because most of the brass was just donuts, big old whole notes, half notes. And we had to supply the motion, which got it, no problem. We're going to put as many notes in there as we can, right? So we had a good time putting that book together. But the first thing we did that year was the ballad. That's what the horns first learned, so that was our first piece. Now here I am, first time arranger, and I did a lot of stuff in the 80s with Tom Float with the Blue Devils, and I had my licks in there, but it was, it was Tom's book pretty much, and I was doing what I can to help everything out. So I had all these ideas, all these best sounding drum licks you can ever hear in a rudimental world, and they came out in the ballad for Vanguard in 1991. And in my head, I heard them perfect. And I remember the first time we were playing them with the brass line, the rest of the staff is literally standing on the side like this going, looking at me, and I'm like, oh, God, yeah. And finally one of my staff guys goes, hey, are you hearing this? And I go, what are you talking about? I go, it's awesome. And they go, no, just listen. Not what you think it should sound like. Listen to what it actually sounds like. And when I finally got my blinders off and I listened, I went, what the hell is that? It was so bad. It was so many notes trying to fit. And it's the ballad, we shouldn't have even played. But I had all these ideas I wanted to get out there. So my advice is there's time. Whether it's maybe not even this year, maybe it's going to take, 2, 3, 4, 5, 40 years to get those cool licks out that you want. There's time to do that. I tried to get them all in one chart, and it was an extremely important learning opportunity for me. Part of my education right there as the arranger was like, okay, well, that didn't work. That wasn't even close to working. So literally it was like that eraser got a lot more work than the other side of that pencil did that season, that's for sure.
I find that a lot of young folks, I don't want to pigeonhole it, don't just talk about young instructors, but I think people forget that there is an art to teaching, and that you may be a very good member and a good player, maybe even a good motivator, but not necessarily an educator. And that sometimes when you have that pedigree of, marching a world-class ensemble, a top 12 drum corps, a world-class WGI group, that you instantly are able to jump into these positions. And it takes time sometimes to figure out how the students learn, and that everybody learns a little bit differently. In addition to writing too many notes out of the gate, And I think some people struggle with that because they go from performing at a high level and assume they're going to jump right in and be a good teacher. And then they forget that they're not teaching the level that they came from as a member. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, absolutely. And I see it all the time. I mean, even through our group and groups that I've worked with before, I mean, amazing drummers can play anything, you know, anything you throw at them, they can play, but they can't teach. And then I've seen guys who can barely play who are phenomenal teachers. Yeah. You know, so I mean, it's a whole different world than just, you know, having the chops to play stuff. I'm a big believer in demonstration, so I'm very fortunate with the guys that I hire. I know they're great teachers, but they're also great performers, and that's rare when you can get both of those at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of young instructors, you know, and they've asked me, they go, how do I audition to be a Blue Devil staff member? And I go, well, you don't audition. You know, most of the guys that I hire, they come from the program. You know, they're members of the Blue Devils at one time, and that's how they kind of get into our world. But what I tell them, I go, what's your product? Show me a video of your product. What do you got? Let me see your high school line. You know, and they go, well, I don't have a high school line yet. Okay, get one.
Yes.
You know, start teaching somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And when that product starts to become at a good level, people are they'll find you. Believe me, they'll find you. You know, if they hear this junior high line or this high school line that's just, you know, incredibly well put together and sounds great, someone's going to say, hey, who's teaching them? Who's in charge of that? Oh, really?
Exactly. Yep.
Let me talk to you, you know, instead of them trying to go, hey, I want to teach the Blue Devils. You know, well, okay, a lot of people do, but guess what? It doesn't really happen like that. Sorry. I apologize, but you can come hang out with us for a while. That's all good. But so it's definitely, my advice is, you know, you got to start somewhere. You got to put in your time. You know, I didn't become a caption head until I was in my 30s, you know, for example. I know a lot of guys have done it younger, you know, but I'm still here. Longevity's you know, I've definitely, like I said before, I was in the right place at the right time. So, yeah, this is, you know, would have been my 41st year with the Blue Devils, and I don't plan on quitting, you know, until they have to say, dude, you're done, you know, and escort me off the field. And we joke about that. I tell my staff, I go, okay, when I get to that point where I say something and you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, you'll tell me, right? You'll let me know that.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, you're out there talking, they just all back away from you like, oh. Yeah. Well, so far you've been saying all the right things, Scott. Tremendous success with the Blue Devils, you know, bar none, and just all the things you've accomplished. I appreciate you coming on today, just sharing some of your time, some of your wisdom, your experience with us. Folks, if you're looking for Scott's products, we certainly have them at steveweissmusic.com. Come check it out. Off-World and Zildjian, ProMark, Evans Heads, Conselmer. We have contacts with all those folks and plenty of that stuff there at Steve Weiss. Also, if you're looking for more of these interviews, don't forget to stay with us on Steve Weiss Music Facebook page and check out our new one, the Back of the Band Room. And if you have a band director out there who might be looking just for some tips and tricks to kind of remain the authority in the classroom when it comes to percussion that may not be their main instrument, let them know about the Back of the Band Room. There's plenty of ways to get in touch with us in our education department through that, as well as just to grab some great information from the content that's up there to help them to be a better educator. So, Scott Johnson, thanks so much for taking the time, man. It's good to at least see you over the camera. We see each other once a year, maybe at championships out here, out east, and hopefully it'll happen this year. And if not, it's been great talking to you, man. Thank you. You too, man. I appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. I really enjoy all of Steve Weiss products. Obviously, it's a great company, and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, Scott. Have a good one, man. Take care. All right.